no church. My parents asked the pastor, can we exchange her role to save our son instead? Clara Hughes stood at the edge of the stage, her heart pounding. The community hall buzzed like a beehive, filled with smiling faces, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. Little did they know, while they chattered about casserole recipes and gardening tips, her family stood at an emotional precipice. Her brother Jake, once vibrant and full of laughter, was slowly disappearing into the suffocating haze of addiction. The darkness of autumn matched her sense of dread. The leaves fell like all her hopes. It was on this chilly evening that her parents had approached Pastor Dan, eyes filled with desperation. Can we exchange Clara's role in the charity event for Jake's rehabilitation? They had asked it with a seriousness that hit Clara like a blow. Their words echoed in her mind, sharp and accusing. They needed her to make the ultimate sacrifice, and all she wanted was to help her brother. The pressure was unbearable. Tears threatened to spill over as she remembered the vibrant boy Jake had been. That contagious laugh that chased shadows away. Now, shadows chased him. Did her role in the town truly outweigh the brother who had once been her closest friend? The thought of losing him felt like a punch in the gut. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Dan's voice soared through the hall. Let us reflect on the true meaning of sacrifice. The room silenced. But Clara felt a cacophony of emotions raging inside her. Her mind raced, caught between doing good for others and saving her family from heartbreak. Then, just as she gathered her thoughts to speak, Pastor Dan's voice cut through the tension. And speaking of sacrifice, we have a very special contribution to announce tonight. A sudden and unexpected change. Clara's heart stopped. Clara Hughes has offered to step down from her role in the charity event to support a fellow community member in need. Gasps. Nobody had asked her. Sweat dripped down her back as she fought to find her own voice. The pastor's words echoed painfully in her chest. Was this what her family really needed? Wasn't the town counted on her? Clara! A tear rolled down her cheek, disguised as a hidden plea. The spotlight now felt like a guillotine. Every pair of eyes demanding an answer. Would she abandon her brother and herself at this crossroads? Or would she choose family over duty? Her mind raced. The questions hanging heavy in the air, dread coiling around her heart. What choice could provide the hope they all desperately needed? Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Clara. The crowd waited, breaths held tight. A wave of uncertainty washed over her like freezing water. What had Pastor Dan just done? Why had he spoken for her? Her heart raced, each beat echoing a growing panic. She had to stop this. "Pastor Dan, wait!" She finally found her voice. "I didn't agree to—" But before she could finish, a loud crash interrupted her. The double doors of the hall burst open, slamming against the walls, rattling the fragile calm. Silence settled over the crowd, heads turning, eyes wide. There he stood, Jake, disheveled, pale, and breathing heavily like a ghost rising from the shadows. Clara's heart leaped to her throat. "Jake!" She pushed through the crowd, her voice shaking. "What are you doing here?" The questions tumbled from her lips, but his eyes, wild and searching, told a darker story. "I need to talk to you. Now!" His voice was hoarse, strained. Panic gripped Clara as she glanced at the audience. Whispers filled the air, threading through the murmurs of disbelief and confusion. Faces turned grim, judgment washing over like storm clouds. Her thoughts raced. Why now? Why here? "Jake, please, not like this!" She stepped close, urgency clawing at her chest. "You shouldn't be here, not in front of everyone." "I don't care!" he shouted, his voice echoing against the walls, raw and desperate. "It's about Mom and Dad! The truth!" The pastor shifted, visibly uncomfortable. "Jake, perhaps we can talk about this later." His attempt to intervene was met with defiance. "No! They need to know!" he gasped, his breath choppy. "They've hidden it for too long!" Shock rippled through the audience. Shadows danced across Jake's features, and the flickering lights seemed to reflect the tremor in Clara's heart. "What truth?" "Jake, stop!" Clara squeezed his arm, but he shook her off, desperation fueling his resolve. "What are you hiding?" Jake straightened, eyes shining with unshed tears. "I heard them talking, Clara. About you. About me. They're using you as a pawn." He paused, as if the weight of his words hung between them. "And they've lied about my addiction. I'm not the only one suffering. It's them too." A collective intake of breath rushed through the crowd, as if the air had been sucked from the room. Clara's knees felt weak. "What are you saying?" "Mom and Dad are desperate, but it's not just me who needs saving. He hesitated. "They've been hiding their struggles too. They've been fighting their own demons. You think it's just about me?" Bile rose in Clara's throat. The turmoil of love and betrayal surged within. Her parents had spoken about her sacrifice, but their truth ran deeper, twisting the very fabric of their family. "I can't believe this," Clara whispered, a mix of disbelief and pain filling her voice. The light dimmed around her, familiar hugs suddenly feeling like chains. The pastor tried to regain control. "Let's all take a moment to breathe." But Jake cut him off. "No more hiding. This isn't just about charity or roles. It's about our family." Gasps echoed in the hall, and Clara felt the heat of 1,000 eyes press against her. Everything she thought she knew was unraveling, her brother pulling at the threads. "Clara, you don't have to play the part anymore. You can choose." Jake's voice dropped, a haunting whisper that echoed with weight. "Whatever it takes for our family to heal." The air thickened with unsaid words, hearts racing in the charged silence. And in that moment, the world around Clara twisted, shadows morphing into something unrecognizable. Her parents, the pastor, the community, faces changed. all painted with layers of hidden struggles, unspoken fears, and deep aching needs. Could she trust them? What was the real sacrifice? As the spotlight felt hotter, a silence hung heavy, and Clara stood at the brink. The truth was breaking, ready to consume them all. What would she choose? Clara stood frozen, the weight of Jake's words pressing down like a funeral shroud. The air buzzed with tension. She could feel the crowd shifting, whispers darting like fireflies. What truth? What had they hidden? "Clara, you need to listen to him!" A voice broke through the murmur. It was Emily, her best friend since childhood, pushing through the crowd toward her. Her eyes were wide, filled with something frantic. I heard them too, Clara. After the family dinner last week." Clara's heart raced. What had her friend heard? "Emily, what are you talking about?" They weren't just talking about Jake's recovery. They were discussing the charity event, and they were suggesting what you should sacrifice. Emily's voice trembled. "I thought they were just worried, but it's more than that." A knot twisted in Clara's stomach. Her parents were desperate, yes, but why didn't they ever confide in her? What else were they keeping from her? She turned slowly back to Jake. "Is that true? Are Mom and Dad?" But Jake didn't get the chance to answer. The once silent crowd expanded with gasps. The entire hall quaking as it echoed the shattering of Clara's world. The pastor stepped back, his face pale, betraying a fear Clara didn't understand. Then muffled behind the voices of the shocked onlookers, a new sound rose. A low rumble, followed by a crash against the doors at the back of the hall. Everyone turned, straining against the confusion. The doors burst open again. This time, it was not just Jake, but a figure clad in a dark hooded coat, rushing in, face hidden beneath the shadow of the hood. "Carrera!" the figure shouted, voice hoarse and broken. The room fell into a stunned hush. The identity of the newcomer was a mystery wrapped in layers of tension. "Who are you?" Clara demanded, taking a cautious step back, her pulse hammering in her throat. The figure pulled down their hood, revealing a face that made her blood run cold. "Lucy!" Clara whispered, disbelief etched across her face. Lucy was Jake's girlfriend, lost in the chaos after his addiction pulled him into darkness. Everyone had assumed she left town for good. "What are you doing here?" Clara's stomach churned. The weight of the past pressed down on her like a funeral pall. "I came to tell you the truth," Lucy said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You need to know what really happened with Jake." The crowd leaned in, the tension snapping like a taut wire. Clara felt as if she were teetering on the edge of a cliff, about to plunge deep into a chasm of uncertainty. Jake's eyes were wide with fear. Did he know what was coming? "Jake didn't just fall into addiction," Lucy pressed, voice breaking. He was pushed. You think it's just him? Your parents were covering up because they were using him as a distraction." Claire's heart raced at Lucy's words. What do you mean? Then the next twist came, crashing in like a wave. They were involved in something much darker. Your dad, he's been dealing to fund your brother's treatment. That's why they needed you to step down. It's not just about charity. It's about keeping their secrets buried. Gasps erupted throughout the hall. Faces morphed in shock and disbelief. Clara's world tilted dangerously as she struggled to process what Lucy had just revealed. Mom! Dad! Clara's voice sliced through the tension, rising above the cacophony. She felt each eye in the room turn toward her parents. Is this true? Are you hiding this from me? Do you even care about our family? Their faces twisted, but Clara couldn't seem to find the words. She looked back at Jake, who stood dumbfounded, the color draining from his face. The truth hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating. As emotions collided, Clara realized that everything she thought she knew about her family was ready to unravel. And just then, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. A cold panic shot through Clara. The shadows swirled as chaos erupted, screams puncturing the thick silence. "Clara!" Voice rose above the din, but it was lost in the chaos. What else was hidden in the dark? What were they all really capable of? Then, in the pitch blackness, she felt a hand touch her shoulder. Was it Jake? Was it Lucy? Or something far more sinister? As whispers turned into cries, Clara's heart raced with uncertainty. What lay ahead? And would she even survive to confront the truth? The darkness engulfed the hall, thick and heavy, suffocating them in uncertainty. Clara could feel the panic swirling around her like a storm. She focused on the shadows, her heart racing as she fumbled for her phone, hoping the light would dispel some of the fear. "Clara!" Jake's voice sliced through the darkness. It sounded frightened, vulnerable, and that scared her even more. "Stay close!" But as she turned, the panicked shouts of the crowd transformed into chaos. People tripped over chairs, shoving past one another in desperate attempts to escape. The air crackled with static, charged with unspoken fears. Clara felt a sharp tugging at her heart. They were all scared, but none more so than Jake. "Clara!" Lucy's voice found her in the dark. "We need to get out of here!" "What's happening?" Clara cried, but the oppressive air swallowed her words. She felt trapped, cornered by cruelty. As confusion loomed amid the chaos, a loud thud echoed against the walls. The lights flickered back to life, momentarily blinding her with their harsh glare. When her vision cleared, panic transformed to sheer shock. In the center of the hall, her parents stood, faces pale, eyes wide, as they struggled to remain upright. But it wasn't just their fear that caught Clara's attention. They weren't alone. An imposing figure loomed behind them, a man clad in black, looming like a dark cloud over the family she thought she knew. "Dad? Mom?" Clara screamed, confusion twisting her gut. "What's going on? Clara, it's not what it looks like." Her mother's voice shook, but the desperation was palpable. Then the man moved closer. The tension filled the air like smoke, choking their breath. This isn't just charity anymore, he growled, disdain dripping from his words. It's bigger than you think, little girl. His voice twisted like a knife in Clara's heart. Suddenly the truth unfurled before her, and everything began to make sense. The whispers, the secrets, the lies. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Let me introduce myself," he sneered, stepping into the light. "I'm the one funding your brother's rehab and your parents' debts. Not all debts are financial, sweet Clara. Sometimes they're buried in the darkness." The collective gasp echoed throughout the hall, shockwaves reverberating like thunder. Clara's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" She gasped, trembling. Jake was standing beside her now, eyes wide with realization. "Your parents needed a way out," the man continued, his smile twisted, devoid of warmth. "So they made a deal. They thought they could save him and themselves by sacrificing you." Clara's world imploded. The walls of her reality crumbled. "You're lying! You're lying!" she shouted, disbelief gripping her. But as she looked at her parents, searching for any glimmer of reassurance, their faces betrayed them. They were terrified, and she felt the air leave her lungs. "No." "Yes, Clara," the man said, triumphant, as he stepped between her and her family. "Your parents made a choice long before you stepped on that stage. They thought they could be heroes in their own story. But heroes don't get to choose the ending." "Clara!" Jake's voice trembled. What is he talking about? "Mom! Dad!" she shrieked, searching their faces for the truth. "Is this true? Please tell me it's not true." "Enough!" the man roared, and the room fell silent. "You've been lied to, girl. Your role in this game isn't over." The truth hung in the air, bitter, sharp, like glass. Clara stood frozen, every heartbeat echoing betrayal. The crowd was rapt, waiting, hoping, holding their breath. What choice would Clara make now? Where was the real sacrifice? And who would pay for it in the end? The truth hung in the air, bitter, sharp, like glass. Clara stood frozen, every heartbeat echoing betrayal. The crowd was rapt, waiting, hoping, holding their breath. What choice would Clara make now? She thought, her mind racing. But just then, a loud crash collided with the tension. The doors behind the imposing man burst open once more, and this time a woman stumbled in, breathless and wide-eyed. "Clara, you have to run!" she shouted, her voice urgent and raw. It was Sarah, the town's librarian, known for her wisdom and calm presence. But now her hair was wild, her face ashen. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Clara's confusion deepened, but Sarah pressed on, her eyes darting toward the dark figure. "They're coming for all of us! You have to leave now, before it's too late!" The crowd stirred, whispers buzzing like angry bees. What does she mean? Who's coming? Panic rippled through the hall. Clara's heart thudded as she sought answers, but Sarah's wild gaze held something deeper. Clara, it's not just about you or your brother anymore. It's about all of us, Sarah cried, desperation twisting her voice. We've all been caught in the web they've woven. It's not only a family affair. Before Clara could respond, the dark figure lunged forward, grabbing Sarah by her arm. Enough of this nonsense, he snarled, his grip ruthless. You're not going to ruin everything I've built. A gasp erupted from the audience. Clara felt the air leave her lungs. Who was this man? What was he talking about? Then, just as Sarah opened her mouth to scream, an impossible sound rang out. A deafening explosion echoed through the hall, shaking the very foundations. The lights flickered violently, and cracked plaster rained down. Clara stumbled back, horror gripping her chest as she blinked away the haze of dust. What the? Get down! Jake shouted, yanking Clara to the floor. Chaos erupted. People screamed. Panic surged like a tidal wave. Clara's pulse raced as the smoke mingled with fear. I need you to focus, Sarah urged, her voice slicing through the panic. The truth needs to come out now. If you don't reveal your father's role... What do you mean, reveal? What does my father have to do with this? Clara yelled, frustration bubbling over against the backdrop of chaos. Your father isn't innocent, Clara. He has been involved in illegal activity to keep things under his control. The money, the connections. Sarah's words hung in the air, heavy with gravity. Clara's heart dropped. Everything she thought she knew about her family was crumbling. Was her father truly a criminal? Had he endangered those she loved? In that moment of disbelief, a figure appeared through the smoke. Mom, her face streaked with dirt, eyes wild. Clara! She screamed, voice breaking through the confusion. You need to listen! But Clara's world flickered, the truth threatening to drown her like a tidal wave. Is it true? She whispered, barely able to voice the words. Have you and Dad been lying about everything? What is this web you're trapped in? Just as her mom opened her mouth, the dark figure regained control, shoving Sarah aside with a harsh shove. Shut up! This isn't your fight. With rage, Jake bolted forward, ready to confront the man. You'll answer for this. But before he could reach him, the figure pulled out a small device, pressing a button. Now you've all gone and done it, he growled. You'll pay for your curiosity. In a heartbeat, the hall shook violently once more. The walls began to crumble and dust filled the air like a storm. Clara felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Run! Clara yelled, instinct taking over. But as she turned, she caught a glimpse of her father's face, contorted in grief. Realization dawned on her. Clara, this is not the end, he shouted. But Clara felt the weight of the world crushing down. The lives they built, the web they wove, was it all about to unravel? As the dark figure's laughter echoed, Clara's heart raced wildly. What now? She whispered, barely audible over the chaos. The question lingered, heavy with consequence, leaving the crowd engulfed in a tempest of uncertainty. The truth was within grasp, but it was also shrouded in shadows and danger. What lay ahead? And who would survive this revelation? Clara felt the world tilt, the walls of reality crumbling as fear rippled through the crowd. She glanced at the dark figure in front of her, anger and confusion blending into an overwhelming fire. Heart pounding, she turned to Sarah, desperate for clarity. "What do you mean it's not just about us?" But Sarah shook her head, her voice trembling. "We're all in danger. His influence runs deep, Clara. It's not just your parents. They owe people, dangerous people." "What? Owe them what?" Clara shouted, feeling the pressure mount. In the background, chaos erupted as people tried to squeeze through the doors, desperate to escape the nightmare unfolding. The man in front of her leaned closer, smirking. "Let's just say their debts extend far beyond what you can imagine," he taunted, and Clara caught the glimmer of something sinister in his eyes. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, casting long shadows along the walls. The tension thickened, the air electric. Clara grabbed Jake's arm, searching his face for reassurance. Instead, she found fear mirrored there. "Clara, we need to get out," he urged, desperation clawing at his voice. But before they could move, a loud thumping echoed from the back, drawing everyone's attention. The crowd turned as the double doors burst open again. This time it was Tommy, Clara's childhood friend, pale and breathless. "They're coming!" he yelled, the urgency palpable. "We have to leave now!" Now, Clara felt a panic rising in her chest. "Who's coming?" But Tommy didn't get to answer. The man in black lunged forward, reaching for Tommy, sending him crashing to the ground. "Enough of this!" he shouted, and Clara felt her legs tremble. This was all spinning out of control. Then Clara heard it. A whooshing sound that sliced through the cacophony, followed by a sudden boom! The walls shook and pieces of plaster rained down like confetti from hell. "Run!" Sarah screamed, tugging Clara toward the back. But all Clara could do was stare. And then it happened. From the smoke and chaos, a figure emerged, tall, hauntingly familiar. Her dad! "Dad!" Clara shouted, voice breaking as relief washed over her. But just as fast, confusion crashed back like a wave. Why was he here? "Stop! Clara, you need to listen to me!" he shouted, desperation echoing in his tone. "I can explain." But before he could continue, a gunshot rang out, a deafening noise that silenced the crowd. Time froze. Clara turned, eyes wide. The dark figure fell to the ground, his expression locked in surprise. Blood pooled beneath him, seeping into the floor. Gasps filled the hall, panic igniting as people dawned on what had just occurred. "Who shot him?" Clara cried, but her voice trembled. Her heart raced with adrenaline. And then the impossible happened. From the shadows, a woman stepped forward. A stranger in black, her face obscured beneath a beanie. "Clara, I've come to save you all," she said, and as she pulled back the beanie, Clara's breath hitched. It was Emily. "What?" Clara's voice came out like a wail. "Emily, how could you?" "Your parents are involved in something much darker, Clara," Emily said, shaking her head. "And I couldn't stand back anymore." The crowd buzzed with disbelief. Clara felt flames of betrayal lick at her heart. You knew? I found out. It wasn't just Jake. They were risking everything, including your life. Emily's eyes held a mix of regret and determination. I couldn't let it end like this. Clara's mind raced. Her best friend had known this whole time? What else had been kept secret? And then reality hit with a sickening weight. Jacob wasn't just caught in the family's lies, neither was she. As confusion swirled and the crowd disintegrated into chaos, Clara felt the grip of fate tighten around her. What now? She whispered, looking at the shattered lives, the rubble of trust. But the question lingered in the air as Emily stepped forward, eyes aflame with urgency. We have to expose them, or everything will fall apart. Bodies pressed in, breaths quickening, and it all hung in the balance. Clara could feel the world teetering, the web of secrets closing in. The truth was bleak, but somehow it felt like the only way forward. Would Clara step into the dark unknown? Would it cost her everything? Clara felt the world tilt, the walls of reality crumbling as fear rippled through the crowd. She glanced at the dark figure before her, anger and confusion blending into an overwhelming fire. Heart pounding, she turned to Sarah, desperate for clarity. What do you mean it's not just about us? But Sarah shook her head, her voice trembling. We're all in danger. His influence runs deep, Clara. It's not just your parents. They owe people, dangerous people. What? Owe them what? Clara shouted, feeling the pressure mount. In the background, chaos erupted as people tried to squeeze through the doors, desperate to escape the nightmare unfolding. The man in front of her leaned closer, smirking. Let's just say their debts extend far beyond what you can imagine, he taunted, and Clara caught the glimmer of something sinister in his eyes. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, casting long shadows along the walls. The tension thickened, the air electric. Clara grabbed Jake's arm, searching his face for reassurance. Instead, she found fear mirrored there. Clara, we need to get out, he urged, desperation clawing at his voice. But before they could move, a loud thumping echoed from the back, drawing everyone's attention. The crowd turned as the double doors burst open again. This time, it was Tommy. Clara's childhood friend, pale and breathless. They're coming, he yelled, the urgency palpable. We have to leave now! Now Clara felt panic rising in her chest. Who's coming? But Tommy didn't get to answer. The man in black lunged forward, reaching for Tommy, sending him crashing to the ground. Enough of this, he shouted, and Clara felt her legs tremble. This was all spinning out of control. Then Clara heard it, a whooshing sound that sliced through the cacophony, followed by a sudden boom. The walls shook, and pieces of plaster rained down like confetti from hell. Run! Clara yelled, instinct taking over. But she couldn't look away. And then it happened. From the smoke and chaos, a figure emerged. Tall, hauntingly familiar, her dad. Dad! Clara shouted, voice breaking as relief washed over her. But confusion crashed back like a wave. Why was he here? Stop! Clara, you need to listen to me, he shouted, desperation echoing in his tone. I can explain! But before he could continue, a gunshot rang out, a deafening noise that silenced the crowd. Time froze. Clara turned, eyes wide. The dark figure fell to the ground, his expression locked in surprise. Blood pooled beneath him, seeping into the floor. Gasps filled the hall, panic igniting as people dawned on what had just occurred. "Who shot him?" Clara cried, but her voice trembled. Her heart raced with adrenaline. From the shadows, two more figures emerged. Her parents, horrified and pale. "Clara, we didn't," her mom began, but the words caught in her throat. "What is happening?" Clara shouted, disbelief crashing over her. But the truth came barreling through the smoke like an avalanche. Her father stepped forward, eyes wide with anguish. "We couldn't let him hurt you. He was going to expose everything." Clara stepped back, shock coursing through her. "Everything?" "Clara, there's a history to this," her mother said, trembling. We were involved in something. I never wanted this for you or Jake." "What are you talking about?" Clara spat, her stomach churning. She felt so lost, so betrayed. But it was Jake who spoke then, voice trembling but strong. "Enough! If you're all hiding something, now's the time to tell her." "Jake, it's not what you think," her father pressed, but his face told a different story. Suddenly, the walls trembled, and it felt as if the ground beneath them might split open, just as Clara's heart threatened to give in to despair. A shadow moved in the doorway. Not one, but 3 more figures lined up. Surprise, surprise! The family reunion is just getting started, a voice drawled, low and mocking. Clara spun around, eyes bulging. There stood the rest of Jake's former friends, the ones who'd vanished after he'd fallen into addiction. They looked disheveled and fierce, but their eyes gleamed with something sleek and calculating. "Didn't expect to see us again, did you?" one of them sneered. "Why are you here?" Clara hissed, feeling the walls close in. "Oh, to settle some scores," another replied, smirking as if the chaos fed him. "Your dad has some debts to pay, and we've come to collect." Colder than the ice in winter, Clara felt a realization wash over her. Was this the end of their family? Or the beginning of something much darker? As panic surged anew, the vision of her once happy life splintered, leaving only questions hanging in the air. Who could she trust anymore? What secrets lay buried, waiting to explode? Clara felt the suffocating heat of betrayal as the figures loomed in the hall. Jake's face twisted with fear. She gripped his arm, desperately trying to process the chaos unfolding before her. The tense standoff between the dark figure and her parents cracked her heart wide open. The truth was spilling out like ink on a page, staining everything. "Your dad's in over his head," one of Jake's friends sneered, a cruel smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "He thought he could manage it all, but we're here to collect. And now it's time to make a choice, Clara." "What choice?" she spat, her voice shaking but fierce. The room trembled with tension. "Either you join us or you get out of the way," he taunted, stepping closer, invading her space. "We can't have loose ends when it's time to tie things up." The words hung heavy in the air. Clara's chest tightened, panic clawing at her throat. "I'll never join you!" Just as that defiance left her lips, a loud crash interrupted the moment. A sound like thunder, a seismic shift. The back wall crumbled inwards, dust and debris exploding outwards. Clara ducked low, instinct kicking in. Her heart raced as she shielded her eyes against the chaos. And then, amidst the dust and wreckage, a figure emerged, a silhouette framed by the debris. Clara's breath hitched, recognition washing over her like a wave. "It can't be," she whispered, legs trembling. "Look who decided to show up." The dark figure chuckled, but his bravado faltered. The shadowy figure stepped into the fragmented light. "It's not over yet," he said, his voice cool, dripping with confidence as the dust began to settle. Perfect timing, isn't it? As the dust cleared, Clara gasped at the sight. It was none other than her long-lost Aunt Linda. Unearthed from shadows, she looked just as Clara remembered. Wild hair, fiercely determined eyes. But there was something different about her. A darkness shimmered beneath the surface. "Aunt Linda?" Clara stepped forward, confusion swirling inside her. "What are you doing here? Why?" "I'm here to end this," Linda interrupted, a fiery glint in her eyes. "You have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes, Clara. Your parents thought they could control everything, but they were wrong." "What do you mean?" Clara felt the world tilt anew, uncertainties battling in her heart. "They've been lying to you and Jake, manipulating things behind the scenes," she said, glancing at her brother, who looked utterly bewildered. "It's not just debts or drugs, it's about power. All of it." The tension escalated like a living entity, gripping Clara. Could she trust her aunt? "Listen, Clara. Your father is tangled with dangerous people who aren't just going to disappear." Linda pushed through the mounting noise. "This isn't a game anymore. He's trying to play hero, but it's too late." The crowd murmured, doubt seated among them. Faces swiveled between Clara, Jake, and Linda, uncertainty clawing at them like a beast in the shadows. Then, in a sudden, breath-stealing moment, a chilling laugh echoed through the hall. It was that dark figure again, now standing with newfound authority. "You really think she's here to help?" "She's just as deep in this mess as the rest of us." "That's not true!" Clara exclaimed, panic bubbling over. "Why should I believe anything you say?" Just then, Linda held something up, a necklace. It caught the light, revealing a small locket engraved with a symbol Clara recognized, the family crest. "This is proof, Clara. Your family isn't what you think. We've been part of something bigger, something dark." Clara's heart dropped. The light dimmed around her, the truth piercing through. What if Linda was right? What if they were all caught in a web crafted by their own blood? And then, just as shock settled in, a surge of realization crashed through Clara. A memory of the night her aunt vanished. The screams, the chaos. What if it wasn't just a coincidence? Just as this revelation took hold, lights flickered again, but This time, something more sinister emerged behind Linda. A figure cloaked in black stepped out of the shadows, revealing a face Clara knew too well. Her mother. Linda! Her mom's voice was cold, distant, stringing words like a noose. This has gone too far. You shouldn't have come back. Clara felt her entire world tilt upside down. She looked at her mother, eyes burning with confusion and disbelief. What does that mean? You've been lying to us all along? In that electric moment, the air thick with tension, everything Clara thought she understood about her family shattered like glass. Clara, I can explain, her mother began, but the words hung uncomfortably in the air, fraught with dread. Do you really think I'll listen now? Clara's voice trembled, but it held a spark of bravery. What else aren't you telling me? As the truth twisted like a knife, Clara knew there was only one way to peel back the layers of betrayal. She would have to delve into the darkness, no matter where it led. Was she ready to uncover the secrets? To face the true horrors hiding in her family's past? Desperate and determined, she gazed into her mother's eyes, teetering on the edge of a chilling unknown. What lay beneath the surface? Clara felt the world tilt, the walls of reality crumbling as fear rippled through the crowd. She glanced at her mother, desperation clinging to those familiar features. Would she find answers, or would those eyes betray her? What does that mean? Clara repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Before her mother could respond, Linda interrupted. Clara, listen! Your mother's in this as much as your father. They thought they could keep you safe. But the truth is, you don't get to dictate my life, her mother snapped, frustration and fear boiling over. You don't know what's at stake. What's at stake? Clara echoed, heat rising in her chest. All I've done is try to support this family. What am I? A piece in your twisted game? In that charged moment, the crowd held its breath. A living entity buzzing with uncertainty. Clara's heart raced. She felt adrift, drowning in layers of secrets and shadows. Suddenly, from the back of the hall came a loud crash, like thunder echoing down a long corridor. The doors flew open. Everyone turned, confusion and fear flashing across faces. But Clara couldn't look away from the tension at the front. Then more figures emerged, shadows creeping in behind the light. Clara squinted, trying to make sense of the situation. It felt as if the world were collapsing around her. The crowd murmured, exchanging fearful glances. And then she saw him. A man staggered forward, his face smeared with soot and his clothes tattered. It was Jake. The Jake she thought she knew was gone forever. But he didn't look right, like a frightened child shoved back into the world by circumstances beyond his control. My God! Clara exclaimed, heart racing. Jake, what happened? But instead of answering, Jake's eyes darted around the room, panic lighting them up. Clara, you have to trust me. We're running out of time. What are you talking about? Claire's voice quivered, uncertainty gnawing at her from the inside. Desperation clawed at her chest. What's going on? From behind Jake, another figure emerged. Steve, one of the older guys from the neighborhood. Jake, we gotta hurry. They spotted us. They? Who's they? Clara shouted, feeling the ground shift underneath her. But her question was drowned out by the sound of gunshots ringing through the hall. A chorus of screams erupted, colliding with the tension that hung in the air as shouts ricocheted off the walls. Jake shoved Clara towards the side. Run! Now! He shouted, urgency knitting his brow. Clara turned, shock paralyzing her for a heartbeat. Then, amid the chaos, a gut-wrenching scream pierced through. The scream of her mother. Clara! Her mother cried, eyes wide with horror, as she crumpled to the ground. Clara froze, fear unclenching her heart like a vice. But it was too late. Jake pulled her forward, the momentum of his fear propelling them through the hall. They stumbled outside into the cool night air. The chaos behind them merging with the howls of sirens in the distance. Just as Clara thought they'd escaped, she noticed a shadow trailing them. Jake, behind you! She shouted, pointing back towards the hall. But Jake turned slowly, eyes widening as he faced the figure emerging from the smoke. His expression shifted from terror to shock. No, it can't be. And then, living memories materialized. Someone Clara believed was trapped in the past, taken too soon. It was Lila, Jake's first love, the girl whose disappearance shattered their world. What are you doing here? Jake stammered, disbelief etched across his face. But Lila wasn't the innocent girl they remembered. She looked altered, colder, scarred by the darkness they had never seen. Jake, we need to go, before it's too late, she hissed, urgency lacing her words, eyes darting around as sirens wailed louder. The world tilted again. Clara felt as if she were losing ground, questions spiraling through her mind like a whirlwind. What's happening? Lila, where have you been? How did you... Emerging from the shadows was the figure Clara thought was defeated. The dark Jake! What did you get us into? She whispered, the weight of the world crashing down as they faced an uncertain future. Clara stood frozen, the chill of fear creeping up her spine. The dark figure's presence loomed like a storm cloud, heavy and foreboding. Jake gripped her hand tighter, his trembling fingers sending a jolt of strength through her. Lila's eyes darted around as if searching for an escape route, but the hall, cluttered with confusion and chaos, felt like a trap. What's happened to you, Lila? Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. They came for me, Jake, she urged, urgency layered beneath her words. They think they can control everything, but I'm here to help. What are we even fighting for? Clara felt her heart race, vulnerability spilling from her voice. Can we trust you? The tension in the room was electric. Behind them, the echoes of fear ricocheted. Shouts filled the air, and the cries of the crowd felt suffocating. Clara could see her parents standing defeated, eyes glazed with remorse and uncertainty. A part of her wanted to reassure them, but the other part screamed that there was no turning back. I will explain everything, Leela said, her voice slicing through the chaos. You need to know the truth about your family. They're entangled in something far worse than you can imagine. The silence that momentarily fell was heavy, pregnant with disbelief. Clara felt the ground shift beneath her, the very foundation of her family crumbling. Shadows deepened around them, wrapping tightly like chains. "You don't have to do this alone, Clara," Jake said, pulling her closer. Hope flickered briefly like a candle fighting against the darkness. But just as Clara opened her mouth to reply, a crashing sound echoed through the hall. The shadows twisted and turned. The laughter of the man in black returned, cruel and mocking. "Oh, what a lovely reunion," he sneered, eyes glinting with malice. "Just in time for the show." Clara's heart raced. "What do you want from us?" "Everything," he replied, stepping closer, mired in darkness. "Your parents thought they could play both sides, but their debts are due. And you, Clara, your choice will decide everything." The air crackled with tension. Clara's thoughts whirled as she wrestled with her emotions. She looked to Jake, then back at her parents. I can't choose." "Then you leave us no choice," the dark figure said. But just as Clara felt hope starting to slip away, Leela stepped forward, fierce and unstoppable. "No, you will win this time. We choose unity over fear." The crowd fell silent, waiting for action. Clara felt the fire igniting within her. "If we stand together, they can't control us. We aren't pawns in anyone's game." The murmurs shifted into chants, voices rising stronger. The light of determination ignited every heart. Clara took a deep breath, clearer now. "This ends now. No more secrets, no more lies." Suddenly, a flicker of truth illuminated the darkness as the crowd began to rally. Clara and Jake, side by side with Leela, forged an unbreakable bond. They faced the dark figure, and for the first time, they felt the power of unity. But then they heard the sounds of sirens growing louder. The authorities, police, were coming. Clara's heart raced with hope. Was help arriving? Or was this just the beginning of chaos? They needed to make their move. Acting fast, Clara grabbed Jake's hand. "We'll face whatever comes together. We won't let fear control us." And in that decisive moment, Clara felt both the weight of her past and the flicker of hope for a brighter future. They turned toward the remaining shadows of betrayal, ready to confront whatever lurked within. "What's next?" Jake asked, urgency flowing through him. "I don't know," Clara admitted, breathless. "But together we'll find a way. We will make it through this, I promise." As the night air solidified around them, the sirens grew closer. What awaited them would shape their futures forever. But however dark the fight, they would face it together. And just like that, Clara began to understand the fragile threads of life and the strength embedded in her family, realizing that clarity often comes in the shadows. Now, before you go, you must subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the time to show your support. Like this video now. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Don't wait 1 second longer. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel with these actions. You won't want to miss what comes next.